ArchiCAD 18 now comes with a data mapping function, which lets you assign all schedulable ArchiCAD parameters and quantities to IFC model elements as IFC data. Why would you want to use data mapping? Here's why. Data which mean the same thing in ArchiCAD and IFC only have to be entered once. You can save ArchiCAD data as a specific IFC model to match a particular standard, like COBie documentation or your company's standard. Or you can make your data fit a particular workflow, like MEP or energy analysis. Or you can optimize model data for a particular receiving application like Revit or Tekla. You can store the mapping rules in so-called scheme XML files. These XML files are available whenever you need them to reuse in another project or share with coworkers so that everyone's working with the same set of data. Let's see how data mapping works in this short video. Here's a building from a project designed by Rift Architect Studio in Norway called the Nordre Jarlsberg Brygge project. We're going to focus on the windows. Here is ArchiCAD's IFC Manager, which shows the IFC model data generated from the ArchiCAD project. Filter the model hierarchy to show just the visible elements. Go down to the windows. ArchiCAD automatically groups all windows into a type product whose IFC name is Windows Style. According to the current default settings, the windows of this building fall under 10 different type products depending on the library part name. Here we see the window types based on their names in the Norwegian Library Catalog. The default categorization does not consider parameters like window size, material, or glazing. It only considers the library part name. You might have placed a single window element several times, using different sizes and styles each time, but you can't see the difference in these type categories. But suppose you're using an IFC standard that requires you to differentiate your windows further. The solution is to change the naming rule so that it includes more parameters besides the library part name. This is where data mapping is very handy. To set up data mapping, use the IFC Scheme Setup dialog box in ArchiCAD. The tree in the left panel contains all element types, element groups, and assignment types available in the IFC standard documentation and editable in ArchiCAD. Click on Windows Style to view its available data, as filtered by the current scheme. We can change the automatic naming rule here. What should the new naming rule do? For example, define the name to include basic element parameters, such as the library part name, as in the default rule, the window height parameter, the window width parameter. To include additional parameters, select them from the Object Parameter list. Search the database to locate the parameters you want. For example, let's locate parameters that belong to the Window Wall group, which includes all the window types of this project. We add glass surface as a parameter. If needed, you can change the order in which the parameters are written, but we'll leave the order as is. But as for the way the name is displayed, we'll try to make it more readable by adding text characters to separate the parameters using a colon, a dash, separate height-width parameters with an X. As you can see, the rule defining the name attribute is complex. It contains several types of parameters and constant text elements. You may prefer to use one-on-one mapping between element parameters on the one hand, and the scheme's IFC parameters on the other hand. For example, map the acoustic rating parameter of the ArchiCAD window to the standard IFC acoustic rating. Similarly, map the fire rating parameter to its IFC counterpart. Click to refresh the data shown in the Ifc Manager. Our new mapping rules went into effect immediately. Instead of the 10 window styles we saw before, we now have 65 window styles. This is thanks to our mapping rule, which has more parameters than before: window glass surface, height, and width. And so the project's windows are further differentiated by type. These parameters, which are combined to form each window's name attribute, also define the names of the types. Click any item from under a particular window type, like the Gult window of a particular size, with yellow glazing. And voila, the corresponding element is shown. If we now look at the parameter list for this selected element, we can see clearly the values assigned for fire rating, Brannklasse in Norwegian, and acoustic rating, Leidkrav. Double-check to make sure. Have the values for these window parameters been mapped from the IFC data as we defined in our mapping rule? And do the mapping rules work even if the ArchiCAD interface displays these parameter names in a different language? And the answer is a resounding yes. The ArchiCAD parameter values we specified in the mapping rule have been instantly assigned to the windows in the IFC database. Some mapping rules are hidden and automatic. These work in the background, so you do not have to manually enter data which is already available elsewhere. For example, project-related data from ArchiCAD's Project Info dialog box. Here you can define detailed information about the project, site, building, and contact. The first three data categories are mapped to the project, site, and building attributes in the IFC model hierarchy. Look and see. The Ifc Manager displays, for example, the project's data automatically in the IFC project name and description attributes. You didn't have to enter them yourself. And what is called contact detail data in the Project Info dialog box are automatically added as person and organization data in the IFC model. Let's go ahead and export the current state of the project and check its contents with the Celebri model checker for IFC. Indeed, the project site and building names now show the data from the ArchiCAD's Project Info dialog. And the File Name panel contains the person and organization data, which correspond to the contact detail data in ArchiCAD. The tree structure lists the window styles according to our mapping rule. That is, 65 window styles are listed using the naming rules that we defined. And if we select a window element here, we see that its acoustic rating and fire rating values, as defined in ArchiCAD, are correctly exported to the mapped IFC properties. To summarize, the detailed BIM data extracted from an ArchiCAD project can be mapped to their corresponding IFC standard or custom data. You can achieve this in any format required by the documentation standard or preferred by the consultant. A mapping rule can be a simple one-to-one correspondence or a combination of several model parameters. In any project, you can maintain a list of several mapping rules. You can save them to an XML file, which means they are easily transferable among different projects and coworkers. As you can see, for any format you may require, the BIM data from ArchiCAD models are ready to roll on the OpenBIM superhighway.